So let's use toothpaste as our example when we look at our positioning process. Okay, so toothpaste may have a number of attributes that are important to consumers. Which one is the most important? Well, a toothpaste manufacturer would have to do research to determine this. Let's say that one such firm did undertake some research and found the following. So the first thing we do is we rank the importance to customers. We do some research for customers, we ask them what's important to you when it comes to toothpaste, and then we rank them. What's most important, number 1, what's second most important, number 2, what's third most important, number 3, based on our research. Okay, and we found that, number 1, the most important thing to consumers is prevention of tooth decay, cavity protection. In other words, the protection of your teeth so it doesn't get holes. Number 2, what's second most important is cleaning your teeth from plaque. You know that yellow stuff that builds up on your teeth? The third most important thing is fresh breath. Number 4 is the ability to whiten your teeth. And number 5 is gum protection. So that was the 5 things that were discovered in order of importance. And it's obviously clear that both tooth decay and plaque fighting ability are the top 2 ranking attributes. Okay. Then what consumers could be asked to indicate what combination of the 2 attributes they prefer. For example, they want a high tooth decay prevention, but you know what's not so important is plaque fighting ability, so low plaque fighting ability. Low tooth decay prevention, but high plaque fighting ability. Remember, because you can't have just high. Well, you can have high, but it's just going to be more expensive toothpaste. So people in the middle, in the middle income, can't pay for both high, so they're going to have to choose one. Okay, so they had some said no, on that price we'll then take high tooth decay, but low plaque fighting. Or low tooth decay or high plaque fighting. Maybe there was some that said, well, we're going to spend whatever money is necessary because we want high tooth decay prevention and high plaque fighting ability. And then lastly, there was a group that said, okay, we want medium. We don't want low high, we want a little bit of both. Okay? So, first what you do is you take the attributes that were found and you plot it on a map. Okay? Step 1. So you have your x-axis and your y-axis, high tooth decay prevention, low tooth decay prevention, low plaque fighting ability, and high plaque fighting ability. And then you pop them down. So the first one was high tooth decay prevention and low plaque fighting ability. Then it was high plaque fighting ability but low tooth decay prevention. And then of course it was high tooth decay prevention and high plaque fighting ability. And lastly was medium. Remember? We plot them on the map. Next, the firm must see how the competitor brands match up. So you ask the customers, okay, how do you perceive this brand is on these attributes and that brand is on these attributes? Okay, they have to rate the existing brands on tooth decay prevention and plaque fighting ability attributes. Okay, so we asked different customers and we found the following. Right, we do the same drawing, same graph, but now we just place the brands there. And they found that Aquafresh was high tooth decay prevention, low plaque fighting ability. Oral-B was high, and Colgate was high plaque fighting ability and low tooth decay prevention. And lastly, Mentadent P was low plaque fighting and low tooth decay. Okay. So again, it's important that it's not necessarily how those brands are in terms of the actual attributes, but it's how they are perceived by consumers that's most important. What do consumers believe about those products? But not on the actual characteristics of the brand, because that's not really what matters. What matters is what people think. So once the firm has both these sets of data, they can combine them to form a map that can help decision making more effectively. Okay, so here we're going to combine them now together. Step 3, we have the same map. And now we just pop them down. So remember, we had the high-low for high tooth decay prevention, low plaque fighting ability. We pop them down again, and then we put in our brands that we had, right? And now we look at this map and we go, what is going on here? Okay, and I'm going to whip out my drawing tool so that we can have a look here. Now, we can see we have high tooth decay prevention over there as an attribute that people want, and already we see that Aquafresh kind of fulfills that role according to people. Okay. Then we have the high tooth decay prevention and high plaque fighting ability that people wanted, but we see Oral-B fulfills that role. Then we have the high plaque fighting ability and low tooth decay prevention, which Colgate fulfills that role. Then we have Menton and P over here, low, but as we can see, there aren't any attributes that people want. People don't want low, so yeah, they're not really offering a lot of people what they want. And then interestingly, over here we see medium. There are attributes there that people want, but there isn't any brand that's offering those benefits. Okay, so immediately we see something which we call a gap. Okay, a gap in the market, and usually we indicate it with an X. There's a gap over there in the market. Okay, why? Because there's no brand that's offering people what they want. Okay. Okay, so with this data, it's possible to establish which existing products meet consumers' needs for these two attributes. It also shows where there are gaps in the market or unmet needs, like I showed you. For example, there is no brand that targets the needs in quadrant 2, that's the bottom left one. Medium tooth decay prevention and medium plaque fighting ability. This gap poses an opportunity for the new toothpaste manufacturer. They can develop a brand that they position in that gap. Okay, so then you've got to decide, step 4, do you position close to competitors or in the gap, away from competitors? So when entering a new market, a firm can either decide to position their brand close to an existing competitor. This will mean that they need to fight for market share. You can compete with others, but then you've got to fight with it. Okay? Or you can position yourself away from competitors in the gap where there is currently no competition. So what happens if you position in the gap? Well, if you decide to go in the gap, you must meet 3 criteria. You must be able to manufacture a product that will be perceived as having the attributes that the consumers desire, medium tooth decay prevention and medium plaque fighting ability in our case. Number 2, you must be able to sell the product at a price the market is willing to pay. Okay? And number 3, the gap must have a sufficient number of consumers to make it profitable or sustainable for you. Then you can position close to competitors. Okay, so this strategy can work if the firm can convince the market that its product has a combination of attributes that are better than the competition. They could, like Sensodyne, take the stance that their product is the one that most dentists recommend when they entered the market against all the existing competitors. And here's an example of their ad. I recommend Sensodyne, Dr. Alexander Smith, dentist, Chicago, right? Expert sensitivity release plus the benefits of daily toothpaste. So they focus on the sensitivity element, but they specifically use dentists to recommend Sensodyne as their strategy. So if the firm cannot provide some appealing differentiation, it will have to compete head-on with the leading brand. And to be able to compete effectively, the firm must have the financial resources to fight the leading brand for market share. Okay, it's heavy stuff. You've got to use advertising and lots of marketing advertising to do it. It'll have to outplay the other brand. And to do this, they will have to make extensive use of advertising and promotions. Okay, so regardless of the strategy chosen, to be successfully positioned, a brand must be perceived as having important attributes that are desirable to consumers, be a large enough segment of, or by a large enough segment of consumers. Enough people need to see it as important and desire it, or have attributes which are not offered by competitors but still desired by consumers. When a product is positioned effectively, it occupies a clear and distinctive and desirable place in the minds of target consumers. I highly recommend that you self-study the typical positioning errors in the textbook.